Listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you feel deeply, perhaps even painfully uncomfortable. Every single time you open the physical door of your home to receive someone you didn't truly want to see, you are simultaneously closing the metaphorical door of your mind. This is not some poetic metaphor or a clever literary device. It is the cold, hard reality of your existence, a reality you have been systematically ignoring while pretending that, quote, zero fulfills you. Every visit is an invasion disguised as a courtesy. Every trivial, repetitive conversation is a piece of your soul and a block of your time that you will never, ever recover. And the worst part of this tragedy? You allow it yourself. You have convinced yourself that you need those visits, that solitude is the enemy, and that being alone is synonymous with being empty. This is a lie. The truth is exactly the opposite. But admitting that truth means facing something terrifying, that maybe, just maybe, you don't actually know who you are when no one is watching you. Henry David Thoreau understood this with a piercing clarity more than 150 years ago when he secluded himself in the woods at Walden Pond. He did not flee from society out of a bitter hatred for humanity. He fled because he understood a fundamental law of the psyche that you still deny today. Constant company is the opium of the mind. It numbs you. It distracts you. It slowly and subtly turns you into a hollow echo of what others expect from you. Every time you receive visitors out of obligation, you are not being a good host. You are playing a role. Think about the performance. You smile when your heart is heavy and you don't want to smile. You nod your head in agreement when your intellect is screaming in disagreement. You modulate your tone. You soften your edges. And you edit your thoughts just so you don't make anyone in the room feel uncomfortable. You adjust your very essence to quote to a conversation that doesn't even matter. And what is left of you after that 3-hour performance? Nothing but the bone-deep exhaustion of having been someone you are not. You have traded your life force for hours that will never return. But here's the part that really hurts. Deep down, you like it. You like it because it is infinitely easier to lose yourself in empty, superficial conversations than it is to face the terrifying silence of your own thoughts. It is more comfortable to debate the weather, complain about superficial politics, or dissect irrelevant gossip than it is to sit in a quiet room with yourself and ask, what am I actually doing with my life? Visits are your refuge. They are your perfect, socially acceptable excuse not to think. And meanwhile, the clock, that relentless, unforgiving master, keeps moving. The days pile up, and you keep offering your time to the world as if your supply were infinite. It is not. Every minute you spend on trivialities is a minute you have effectively stolen from your own potential. Thoreau famously remarked that the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. They have every reason to be desperate because they have handed the keys to their existence over to meaningless social obligations. Receiving visits you don't want isn't hospitality. It is a form of calculated self-sabotage. It is a signal to the universe that your time has no market value. It tells the world that anyone can show up unannounced or uninvited and steal 2, 3, or 4 hours of your life without any consequences whatsoever. You open the door with a practiced smile, acting as if you are grateful for the interruption. But inside, a part of you is dying. How many times have you canceled important, life-changing projects because someone decided to drop by? How many world-class ideas went undeveloped because you felt you had to entertain people whose names you will likely forget in a year? The tragedy is not that they interrupt you. The tragedy is that you accept the interruption as if it were a high honor. You have cast yourself as a secondary character in your own autobiography, always available for the whims of others, never available for the needs of yourself. The human being has a strictly limited capacity for attention and creative energy. Every social interaction, no matter how pleasant, drains that battery. When the visitors finally leave and you are finally alone, you find you have nothing left to give to your own craft. You arrive at your own solitude exhausted, too drained to think, too tired to build anything meaningful. So you turn on the television, you scroll through your phone, you seek out any mindless distraction because you no longer have the cognitive fuel for what actually matters. Visits empty you, but because they do it in small, polite increments, you don't notice the bankruptcy until it's far too late. Let's be even more brutal. People often do not visit you because they care about your growth. They visit you because they are desperate to fill their own internal emptiness. They are bored. They don't know what to do with their own silence, so they look for someone to distract them from their own mediocrity. You are their entertainment. You are their pause button. You are their way of killing time, and you are a willing accomplice. You feel obligated to be available as if denying them your time were a moral crime. But the real crime is the one you commit against your own evolution. Every time you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own progress. Seneca, the great Stoic, wrote that, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Think of the massive tally of hours you have already incinerated on unnecessary visits. How many golden afternoons vanished into the ether during conversations that gave you absolutely nothing, with people who don't truly know you? Time is the only resource you can never earn back, yet you give it away with more recklessness than a spendthrift with a fortune. Every unwanted interruption is a victory of external chaos over your internal order. You justify it by saying, quote 10, or that quote 11. These are truths used as masks for cowardice. Authentic human connection does not happen during an obligatory Sunday afternoon visit or a forced chat over coffee. Real connection happens in genuine, rare moments with people who vibrate on your frequency. Anyone else knocking on your door just because they have nothing better to do is not a quote 12. They are a distraction. Thoreau spent 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days at Walden. When he left, he didn't leave because he was lonely. He left because he had finished the work of the soul. Solitude taught him more about the mechanics of life than 1,000 dinner parties ever could. What he built in that silence, the reflections, the philosophy, is still vibrating through history 150 years later. Meanwhile, the millions of polite conversations held by his contemporaries during that same time have vanished into total oblivion. There is a massive difference between what you build in solitude and what you evaporate in superficiality. What have you built lately? What have you created in those moments of solitude you avoid so fervently? Likely nothing, because you have been conditioned to fear the silence. You were taught that being alone is a sad state, that you need a crowd to be happy. But a happiness that depends on external validation is a fragile, hollow thing. It is a house of cards. The happiness built in solitude is unbreakable because it doesn't depend on anyone's permission. Most people cannot stand silence because silence acts as a mirror. It exposes the fact that without the noise, without the titles, without the visits, they are nobody. They are just a collection of borrowed opinions and copied personalities. They have no internal substance, so they require constant external noise to convince themselves they exist. You do not have to be one of them. You can choose to be an architect instead of a host. You can close the door, literally and metaphorically, and dedicate yourself to the grueling, rewarding work of building something that lasts. Real life happens when no one is watching. Real character is forged when there are no witnesses to applaud. Solitude is not an absence of people. It is the presence of the self. It is the only way to truly understand what you value and what you want. But this requires a level of courage that most people simply do not possess, because facing yourself is harder than facing any enemy. People can lie to you, but your own soul eventually stops accepting your excuses. Visits are often a form of cowardice disguised as kindness. It is easier to open the door than to have the difficult conversation of setting a boundary. It is easier to say yes to a coffee date than to disappoint someone by saying no. But every time you choose the easy social path, you move one step further away from the person you are meant to become. You justify it by saying, you don't want to be, quote, 20, quote. You say, quote, 21, quote, or, quote, 22, quote. This is a lie. What is actually rude is mistreating your own potential to satisfy someone else's boredom. What is a tragedy is reaching the end of your life and realizing you spent 40% of it hosting the lives of others, while your own remained unlived. Kierkegaard famously said that, quote, 23. When you start saying, quote, 24 when you finally close the door, you will feel that dizziness. It will feel like vertigo because suddenly you are the only one responsible for your time. You can no longer blame your lack of progress on, quote, 25, quote. You are exposed to yourself, and that is terrifying. But that fear is the ultimate green light. It is proof that you are finally taking the wheel. Those who achieve greatness feel that social anxiety and walk through it. Those who stay mediocre feel it and retreat back into the, quote, 26 of a crowded living room. Thoreau wasn't a hermit who hated people. He was an elitist regarding his time. He understood that time is the most precious asset in the universe, and that wasting it on small talk is a sin against the spirit. He didn't reject everyone. He rejected the people who brought nothing but noise. You must do the same. But to do that, you first need to discover what truly matters to you. And you can't discover that while you are constantly, quote, 28, quote. Only in the deep silence can you hear your own internal voice. Only in the absence of others can you discover what you want to do with the dwindling amount of time you have left on this earth. Make no mistake, you have less time than you think. Every visit you receive brings you 60 minutes closer to the end of your life. The clock doesn't stop because you're being polite. The universe doesn't pause the aging process because you're a, quote, 30. Time is a river that only flows one way. Those who leave a mark on the world, the creators, the thinkers, the masters, are not people who had time. They are people who protected their time with a ferocity that bordered on the ruthless. They were, quote, 32, quote, with their hours. So they could be, quote, 33, quote, with their contributions to history. They were the protagonists of their own lives, while everyone else was busy being a background character in someone else's. Solitude has a terrible reputation in our modern, hyper-connected world because people confuse, quote, 34 with, quote, 35. You can be in a room full of people and feel a crushing sense of loneliness. Conversely, you can be miles away from the nearest human being and feel a profound sense of fulfillment. The difference is your relationship with yourself. If you are a stranger to yourself, solitude is a prison. If you are your own best friend and mentor, solitude is a palace. Once you learn to be with yourself without the need for digital or social, quote, visits, stop being a desperate necessity and start being a rare, conscious choice. A strange thing happens when you stop being, quote, 37, quote, and, quote, 38, quote. People actually begin to value you more. Humans are biologically wired to ignore what is abundant and crave what is scarce. When you are always there to answer the door or the phone, you are expendable. When you fiercely protect your time, you become a person of value. But don't do it for the status. Do it because your life is worth more than being a filler for someone else's afternoon. Freedom isn't about having more options. It's about having the strength to say, quote, to the options that don't serve your purpose. Every time you reject an unnecessary visit, you are casting a vote for your future self. Every time you close the door, you are creating the laboratory where your best ideas will be born. Epictetus said it 2,000 years ago. No man is free who is not master of himself. Are you the master of your schedule? Or are you a slave to the expectations of your neighbors, your friends, and your extended family? This question is uncomfortable because the answer is likely no, and you hate that. You've been trained to be accessible, to be nice, to be a people person. But that training has turned you into a social servant, always ready to pour the tea, never ready to write the book. Modern visits are like golden chains. They feel warm and heavy, giving you a sense of belonging. But they keep you anchored to a life of quiet desperation. Thoreau didn't write Walden because he had all the answers. He wrote it because he had the courage to ask the questions that can only be answered in the silence. Depth requires silence. Evolution requires space. Transformation requires solitude. But you keep opening the door. You keep saying, quote, 45, when your soul is pleading for you to say, quote, 46. And meanwhile, the opportunities of your life are evaporating. Your potential is being bled dry by 1,000 small, quote, 47. All because you lack the courage to stand behind a closed door and say, let's talk about the quote. In the 21st century, the visit isn't just someone knocking on your wood and metal door. It is the notification on your phone. It is the DM asking to pick your brain. It is the text message that demands an immediate response. These are modern invasions. They are the new ways the tribe tries to absorb your individuality. Every time you react to a notification, you are opening your mind to a visitor you didn't invite. You are allowing the world to dictate your internal state. If you cannot go 2 hours without checking your quote 53, you are not a free person. You are a host for the digital world's boredom. True quote 54 is a responsibility to yourself first. If you don't develop your own potential, If you don't build anything of substance, you are actually being selfish. You are robbing the world of the quote 55 that could have been. Protecting your time is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of stewardship. It is the realization that you were given a certain amount of energy and talent, and you have a duty to see how far you can take it. The need for external validation is a slow-acting poison. Every visit you receive is a small, quote 56, of feeling like you matter because someone else wants your time. But that is a hollow kind of quote 57. Real value is built in the dark, in the hours no one sees, in the work that no one applauds until it's finished. Visits give you a fake sense of social productivity. But at the end of the day, what have you actually moved forward? What have you learned? What have you mastered? Break the pattern. You open the door because you feel a twinge of guilt. You smile because you were taught that anything else is mean. You offer drinks and snacks because you want to be seen as a good person. And all the while, the you that was supposed to change the world is sitting in the back room, waiting for the guests to leave so it can finally breathe. And then they leave, and you're too tired to do anything but scroll through social media. The cycle repeats. The years pass. The desperation stays quiet, just as Thoreau promised. No one is going to protect your time for you. Your friends won't do it. They want your company. Ваша родина не зробить цього. Вони хочуть вашої уваги. Your neighbors won't do it. They want to avoid their own lives. It is your burden and yours alone. Setting boundaries will make people angry. They will call you different, antisocial, or arrogant. Let them. Their anger is just a sign that your boundaries are working. It is proof that you are no longer a resource for them to consume. Thoreau understood that to have a life of quality, you must have a first chair for solitude. Most people's lives are just the quote 67, the chair of society, stretched out to fill the entire room. They have no space to process their own existence. Without solitude, your friendships are just two empty people trying to fill each other up. Without solitude, your contribution to society is just a regurgitation of the latest trends. True power is found in self-knowledge, and self-knowledge is found in the silence. It is found in the quote 68 that Marcus Aurelius spoke of. You don't need a cabin in the woods to find Walden. You just need to close the door of your room and the door of your phone. You need to create a sacred hour where no one is allowed to visit, where no one can reach you, where you are the only person who exists. The irony is that the most interesting people, the ones everyone wants to visit, are the ones who spend the most time alone. They are interesting because they have spent time thinking. They are valuable because they have spent time creating. They are worth the visit because they have done the work in the dark. If you want to be someone worth knowing, stop being someone who is always available to be known. The people who criticize you for being unavailable are almost always the ones who are doing the least with their own lives. Your discipline is a mirror that shows them their own lack of it. Your focus makes their distraction look pathetic. So they try to pull you back. They drop by to see if they can still get a piece of your time. Don't give it to them. Not because you're better than them, but because your life has a direction and their visit is a detour. Schopenhauer's campfire metaphor is the perfect guide. Move close enough to the society to be warm, but stay far enough away that you don't get burned by the mediocrity. Most people are standing right in the flames, wondering why their lives are turning to ash. Step back. Find the cool, quiet air of your own company. Thoreau spent 2 years in the woods and left us a masterpiece. The quote 76 people of his town spent those same 2 years receiving visits and left nothing but gravestones. Which one are you going to be? Your life is too short for, quote, 77 hospitality. Your potential is too high for, quote, 78 conversations. Your time is far too valuable to be given to anyone who simply happens to knock. Close the door. Not because you hate the world, but because you have a mission within it. Not because you are cold, but because you are focused. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much about your destiny to let it be stolen by an interruption. The world will continue to knock. The notifications will continue to chime. The guilt will continue to whisper. But you have the key. You have the power to say, not now. You have the authority to choose yourself. In the end, history doesn't care how many visitors you had in your living room. It cares what you built when the door was shut. So listen to the silence. It's not empty. It's full of everything you've been ignoring. It's full of your best ideas, your deepest truths, and your real power. Stop fleeing from it. Embrace it. The door you close on them is the door you finally open for yourself. This is your life. This is your time. This is your Walden. Protect it with everything you have. When you finally realize that, quote, 81 is a complete sentence, you will feel a weight lift off your shoulders that you didn't even know was there. You will realize that you don't owe your time to anyone. You were not born to be a, quote, 82 for other people's boredom. You were born to be a creator, a thinker, a liver of life. And all of those things require you to be the master of your own space. Imagine a life where your time is actually yours. Imagine waking up and knowing that your morning belongs to your work, your afternoon belongs to your thoughts, and only a small chosen part of your evening belongs to others. How much more could you accomplish? How much deeper could you think? How much more you would you actually be? This is the life that Thoreau, Seneca, and Aurelius are calling you to. It is a life of intentional connection, not obligatory noise. It is a life where the door is a filter, not an open wound. It is a life where solitude is the foundation and society is the decoration. It starts today. It starts with the next knock. It starts with the next notification. It starts with the courage to say, I can't talk right now. It starts with the decision to value your own evolution over someone else's entertainment. Close the door. The world can wait. Your soul cannot. The quote 87 ends the moment you decide that your time is sacred. Don't wait for the perfect time to be alone. The perfect time is now, behind a locked door, in the beautiful, terrifying, transformative silence. You are not antisocial. You are simply choosing to be the protagonist of your own story. And every great story needs a place where the hero can go to find their strength. That place is solitude. That place is within you. And you will never find it as long as you keep letting the world in to mess up the furniture. So take a deep breath, stand up, walk to the door, and close it. For the first time in your life, truly close it. Feel the silence settle around you like a heavy, protective blanket. This is where your real life begins. This is where you find the you that has been waiting for years for the visitors to leave. They're gone now. It's just you. And that is exactly how it should be. Now finally, go and do the work you were put here to do. The silence is waiting. Your potential is waiting. Your life is waiting. Don't keep it waiting any longer. This is the lesson of Walden. This is the truth of the masters. Real power doesn't need an audience. Real growth doesn't need witnesses. Real life happens when the door is shut and the work begins. Be the architect of your own time. Be the ruler of your own mind. Be the person who had the courage to say, quote, 90 to the world, so they could say, quote, 91 to their destiny. The door is closed. The noise has stopped. The world is outside, and you are finally, truly here. Ready, whole, focused. The time is yours. Don't waste another second. Start now. Every word you write in the silence, every thought you process in the solitude, every brick you lay when no one is watching, that is what builds a life of meaning. Everything else is just visits. Everything else is just killing time. And you didn't come here to kill time. You came here to use it. So stay in the silence, stay in the focus, stay in the work. The world will be there when you're done. And it will be much more interested in what you've built than it ever was in your hospitality. The greatest gift you can give the world is your own realized potential. And that potential can only be found in the room where the door is closed. Keep it closed until the work is done, until you are ready, until you are you. The journey toward your own Walden starts with a single no. Say it today. Say it tomorrow. Say it until it becomes your new standard. Your time is your life. Protect it as if your existence depended on it, because it does. The silence is your friend. The solitude is your power. The closed door is your freedom. Welcome home. Now, let's see what you're truly capable of when no one is watching. The performance is over. The reality begins. And it's the most exciting thing you'll ever experience. Go, build, grow, be. The door is shut. The clock is yours. The potential is infinite. This is your moment. Don't open the door for anything less than a soul that matches your own intensity. Everything else is just noise. and you've had enough noise for a lifetime. Now, finally, enjoy the silence. It's the most beautiful sound in the world. It's the sound of a human being finally becoming themselves. It's the sound of freedom. It's the sound of your own life, finally starting to make sense. Listen to it. It has so much to tell you, and for the first time, you are actually there to hear it. Thoreau was right. Seneca was right. They all saw the same truth from different centuries, and now you see it too. The choice is yours. The door is yours. The time is yours. Live your life, not the one everyone else wants you to host. Be the protagonist, be the master, be whole. The silence is yours. Use it.